The office was quiet except for the copier. It kept beeping. Paper jam. Daniel Cho pulled the tray open and fixed it. Again. He had already opened the building at 7:12 a.m. Stocked the supply shelves. Answered 3 client emails for a manager who wasn't even here yet. He checked the clock. 8:59. Promotion results were posted at 9. Behind him, 2 coworkers whispered. You already know who's getting it. Yeah. Same as always. Daniel pretended not to hear. He walked to the board. The paper was fresh. Still curling at the corners. His eyes found the title. New Department Supervisor. He smiled before he even read it. Then the smile stopped. Mark Halstead. Daniel blinked. He read it again. Still Mark. Behind him a chair scraped loudly. Supervisor Denise Cole stepped out of her office holding coffee. She didn't look surprised he was there. You saw it, she said calmly. Daniel nodded slowly. I trained him. Silence filled the room. I led his projects too, Daniel added quietly. Denise sipped her coffee. Leadership is more than numbers, she said. Daniel's voice tightened. My numbers were highest in the building. Denise leaned closer. Some people, she said softly, don't represent the image this office needs. The hallway went still. A coworker looked down. Another walked away. Daniel felt every eye not looking at him. Are you saying, he started. Denise cut him off. I'm saying the decision is final. And at that exact moment, a woman with a visitor badge stopped outside the office door. And heard everything. Elena Rivera didn't enter right away. She stood just outside the office door, holding a plain notebook against her chest. The visitor badge rested on her jacket. Inside, nobody spoke. The air felt heavy. Daniel still faced the promotion board. He hadn't moved. Denise walked past him toward her office. Workday starts at 9, she said without looking at him. It is 9, Daniel answered quietly. She paused. Turned. Her smile wasn't warm. Then I suggest you start acting like a team player. Daniel nodded once. Yes, ma'am. But his shoulders sank. Elena watched the coworkers nearby. No one said congratulations to Mark. No one said sorry to Daniel. They just worked. Quietly. Like they had practiced this silence. Elena stepped inside. Tara, the receptionist, looked up. Hi, can I help you? Elena Rivera, she said gently. Consultant visit. Tara's eyes flicked toward Denise's office. Then back. Oh, she whispered. Today is a day. Elena glanced at Daniel walking back to his desk. What kind of day? Tara hesitated. The kind where good people stop trying. Daniel sat down and opened his computer. His hands hovered over the keyboard. He didn't type. Elena approached slowly. Excuse me, she said kindly. Daniel looked up. His eyes were steady but tired. Yes. I'm learning the department structure. Could you explain workflow to me? He straightened in his chair instantly. Professional mode. Sure, he said. Everything routes through project tracking. I handle assignment distribution. You? Elena asked. I did, he corrected gently. A beat passed. You trained the new supervisor? She asked. Daniel nodded. 6 months. And you applied? Yes. His mouth tightened slightly. 3 times. Elena noticed. You didn't get feedback? I got feedback, he said carefully. What did it say? Daniel looked toward Denise's office. Then lowered his voice. Improve leadership presence. Elena waited. He gave a small, embarrassed laugh. I thought that meant public speaking classes. I took 2. And next review said the same thing. Elena wrote in her notebook. Daniel noticed. You documenting workflow? He asked. Yes, she said softly. He studied her a moment. You heard earlier. It wasn't a question. Elena nodded. Daniel looked at his desk. I must be missing something, he said quietly. I just haven't figured out what. Across the room, Denise opened her office door. Daniel, she called. He stood immediately. Yes, Ms. Cole. Office. Now. Coworkers stopped typing. No one looked up. Daniel walked in. The door closed. Elena shifted closer to the hallway. Inside, Denise's voice was calm but firm. I need you to maintain professionalism. I have, Daniel replied. You looked upset. I was surprised. That reaction concerns me. A pause. I earned that promotion, Daniel said carefully. Denise's chair creaked. Your attitude right now proves my decision correct. Silence. Elena felt tension spread through the office. Daniel spoke again, quieter. I just want to understand. You should focus on keeping your position, Denise said. A longer pause. Then she added softly. Complaints create consequences. The door opened. Daniel stepped out. His face was controlled, but his eyes weren't. He walked back to his desk. Sat down. Didn't touch the keyboard. Elena watched him stare at the blank monitor. She opened a cabinet beside the printer to grab a form. Inside sat a stack of old promotion postings. Her eyes scanned dates. Then she froze. According to company policy printed at the bottom, promotion decisions required panel review signatures. The last 3 postings had only one. Denise Cole. Elena slowly closed the cabinet. Something wasn't wrong. Something was planned. Daniel knocked once. Come in, Denise said. Her office looked the same as always. Perfect desk. Perfect folders. Perfect pens lined beside her keyboard. The blinds were half closed, cutting the room into stripes of light and shadow. Daniel stood in front of her desk. You asked to see me. Denise didn't look up right away. She finished typing, clicked save, then folded her hands. Sit. He sat carefully. She slid a paper across the desk. Performance documentation. Daniel frowned slightly. I just had my annual review last month. This is a follow-up. He picked it up. His eyes moved slowly down the page. Then stopped. Communication concerns, he read. Difficulty aligning with leadership expectations, negative tone during discussions. Daniel blinked. I don't understand. Denise leaned back. Your reaction this morning was unprofessional. I said I was surprised. You challenged a management decision. I asked for clarification. Her voice cooled. Intent matters less than perception. Daniel looked at the paper again. This says I struggle with teamwork. Denise nodded once. Several people feel you resist direction. He looked up. Who? I won't discuss other employees. A beat passed. I trained the entire team, Daniel said quietly. And that was appreciated, she replied, smiling thinly. But leadership requires the right presence. There's that word again, Daniel said. Denise tapped the desk lightly. You seem fixated. I just want to know what it means. It means, she said slowly, people must feel comfortable taking direction from you. Daniel held her gaze. They do. Denise tilted her head. Not everyone. Silence stretched. Outside the office, Elena paused near the hallway copier, pretending to organize papers. She could hear their voices through the door. Daniel spoke again. My evaluations have always been positive. Denise opened a folder. Past performance does not guarantee future advancement. That's not what I asked. Her expression hardened. You're becoming defensive. I'm confused, he replied. Confusion can lead to disruption. Daniel looked at the document again. At the bottom was a line. Employee corrective notice. His stomach tightened. This is a write-up? It's documentation. For what exactly? Denise folded her hands. For today's behavior and ongoing concerns. Ongoing, he asked. Yes. Daniel's voice lowered. I've never been written up before. There's a first time for everything. He stared at her. Is this because I questioned the promotion? Denise didn't answer immediately. Then she said carefully, You're focusing on the wrong issue. What's the right issue? Your future here. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Are you saying my job is at risk? I'm saying attitude determines opportunity. He sat very still. Outside, Elena slowly wrote in her notebook. Inside the office, Daniel swallowed. I come early every day. No response. I covered shifts on weekends. Denise watched him quietly. I trained Mark, Daniel said. Denise picked up a pen. Sign the acknowledgement line. Daniel didn't move. I don't agree with this. It only confirms you received it. I still don't agree. Denise's tone dropped lower. Refusal to sign will also be documented. The room felt smaller. Daniel took the pen. His hand hesitated over the paper. Is there anything I can improve specifically? He asked. Denise nodded slightly. Yes. He waited. Learn when to let decisions stand. Daniel understood. This wasn't feedback. It was a warning. He signed. She pulled the paper back immediately and placed it in a folder. Good, she said. We all want a positive work environment. Daniel stood slowly. At the door he stopped. I care about this job, he said. Denise didn't look up from her desk. Then protect it. He opened the door. Elena stood near the copier. Their eyes met briefly. She saw it now, not anger. Fear. Daniel walked past her toward his desk. Co-workers pretended to work. No one asked what happened. No one needed to. He sat down and stared at his screen again. A new email notification appeared. He opened it. Subject line: formal record added to employee file. His throat tightened. Across the room, Denise's office door clicked shut. Elena slowly approached his desk. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. Daniel forced a small smile. "Just a conversation." She noticed his hands shaking. "What did they say?" He hesitated, then answered softly. "They said I should be careful." Elena felt her suspicion harden into certainty. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was pressure, and pressure had a purpose. As Daniel minimized the email, another attachment loaded automatically. He frowned, opened it. His expression changed instantly. "Elena," he whispered. She leaned closer. The attachment title read, Behavior Monitoring Plan, 30 Days. He looked up at her, stunned. "I've never had one of these." Elena's jaw tightened, because she knew exactly what it meant. They weren't documenting performance. They were building a case. Daniel didn't talk much the rest of the morning. He answered emails, assigned tasks, helped co-workers fix software errors. But he spoke softer than usual. Careful, like every sentence was being measured. Elena watched from a nearby desk. People still came to Daniel for help. They just looked around first. One employee leaned close to him. "Can you check my report?" Daniel nodded. "Of course." "Not here," the employee whispered. "Later." He walked away quickly. Elena noticed. Fear had a routine. At noon she approached Tara at reception. "Does Daniel normally handle most problems?" she asked. Tara gave a small smile. "Daniel handles everything." "Then why isn't he supervisor?" Tara's smile faded. She looked toward Denise's office, then lowered her voice. "Because being good at the job and being chosen aren't the same." "Has this happened before?" Elena asked. Tara hesitated. "Yes." Elena waited. "There was Maria," Tara said quietly. "Top performer 2 years ago. Trained her replacement too." "What happened?" "She transferred. Voluntarily." Tara didn't answer. A long silence. Elena opened her notebook. "Who else?" Tara swallowed. 3 others. "Same department?" Tara nodded once. Elena closed the notebook slowly. A pattern was forming. Later that afternoon, Elena walked past HR. The door was open. Inside, filing cabinets lined the walls. No one was there. She stepped in. Her visitor badge allowed limited access, but not files. Still, one cabinet drawer was slightly open. She glanced into the hallway. Empty. She pulled it open. Promotion records. Her eyes moved quickly across names and dates. Performance ratings, excellent. Recommendations, strong. Promotion outcome, denied. Again, and again, and again. She pulled another file. Employee Maria Torres. Highest quarterly performance. Manager comments. Outstanding leadership initiative. Yet promotion result. Not selected. Leadership presence concerns. The same phrase. Every time. Elena's pulse quickened. She photographed the pages with her phone. Footsteps echoed. She shut the drawer and stepped away just as an HR assistant walked in. "Oh, can I help you?" Elena smiled politely. "Just looking for the conference room." "Down the hall," the assistant said. Elena thanked her and left. Her hands were steady. Her thoughts were not. After work hours, most employees left quickly. Daniel stayed. He always stayed. He was fixing a client report Mark had misfiled. Elena approached. "You don't have to stay late," she said. He shrugged slightly. "Work still needs to be right. Even if it's not your responsibility anymore?" Daniel paused. "I don't know how to stop caring," he admitted. She sat across from him. "Have you ever looked at past promotion results?" "No," he said. "Why would I?" Elena slid a printed photo across the desk. He looked down. Maria's evaluation. His brow tightened. "She trained me," he said quietly. "She was denied promotion," Elena replied. His eyes widened slightly. "That doesn't make sense." She placed 2 more. Then another. Each high performer. Each denied. Each same wording. Daniel leaned back slowly. "That's not coincidence." "No," Elena said softly. He looked toward Denise's dark office. "You think it's intentional?" Before Elena could answer, a faint light flicked on inside Denise's office. They froze. Through the glass wall they saw her at her computer. It was 7:48 p.m. She opened a document, then another. Elena quietly stood and moved closer down the hallway. Daniel followed carefully. From the angle of the glass they could see her monitor reflected in the window. A spreadsheet. Employee names listed vertically. Scores beside them. Denise changed one. Then another. Daniel's name appeared. Performance rating, 4.8. She clicked. Change to 3.9. Daniel felt his chest drop. She's editing reviews, he whispered. Elena raised her phone slowly and recorded. Denise leaned back, satisfied. Save the file. Closed the system. Daniel stepped back from the wall. His voice barely came out. That's why. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. He finally understood. It wasn't that he failed. He was never allowed to succeed. Inside the office, Denise suddenly turned toward the hallway. The door handle moved. Elena grabbed Daniel's arm. Go, she whispered. The office door began to open. Elena pulled Daniel toward the stairwell, just as Denise's office door opened. They didn't run. Running would look guilty. They walked. Calm. Controlled. The stairwell door shut softly behind them. Daniel finally breathed. She saw us. I don't think so, Elena said, though she wasn't completely sure. He leaned against the wall. His hands were shaking again. She changed my score, he said. Right in front of us. Elena nodded. I recorded it. Daniel stared at her. You did? Yes. A long silence followed. He looked down the stairs. What happens now? Elena spoke carefully. Now you decide whether to report it. He gave a hollow laugh. Report to who? She runs the department. Human Resources. Daniel shook his head immediately. HR protects the company. Exactly, Elena said gently. And what you saw puts the company at risk. He studied her face. You're very sure? I am. Daniel looked back at the hallway door. If I file a complaint, she'll know it was me. Yes. And she'll retaliate. Elena didn't lie. She might. He closed his eyes briefly. I need this job. I know. Another silence. Then he asked quietly, will it matter? Elena held his gaze. It will if it's documented. The next morning Daniel barely slept. He opened the HR portal 3 times before work. Closed it 3 times. By 10:15 a.m., he walked to the HR office. Elena watched from a distance but didn't follow. This part had to be his choice. Inside HR, Manager Paula Grant smiled professionally. Good morning, Daniel. What can I help you with? He sat down slowly. I'd like to file a formal concern. Her typing paused. What kind of concern? Promotion and evaluation process. Her smile thinned slightly. Can you be specific? Daniel swallowed. I believe my performance record was altered. Paula's posture straightened. That's a serious claim. I saw it happen. She folded her hands. Do you have proof? Daniel hesitated, then remembered Elena's recording. Yes. Paula nodded. You may submit evidence. We'll open a review. He felt a small relief. Finally, something official. She handed him a form. Complete this incident statement. As he filled it out, her computer screen reflected faintly in the desk glass. He saw an email draft already open. Subject: Employee Complaint Notification. Recipient: Denise Cole. Daniel's pen stopped moving. His heart sank. He finished the form anyway. 2 hours later Denise called. Daniel. Office. The entire department heard it. He walked in. She closed the door immediately. Her face was calm. Too calm. You went to HR, she said. Not a question. Daniel stood still. I reported what I saw. Denise nodded slowly. I'm disappointed. I followed policy. You escalated unnecessarily. My evaluation was changed. Denise leaned forward. Investigations are disruptive. So is dishonesty, Daniel replied quietly. Her eyes hardened. You're creating a hostile environment. He stared at her. I'm reporting one. She opened a folder. Effective immediately, your project assignments are reduced pending review. Daniel blinked. Reduced? You'll focus on basic tasks only. That's a demotion. It's temporary. My hours. Also adjusted. His stomach dropped. You're cutting my hours? We need stability during investigations. He understood. This wasn't stability. This was punishment. He spoke carefully. This feels like retaliation. Denise smiled faintly. Be careful with accusations. Daniel's voice was steady but low. I'm documenting everything. Her smile faded. You should focus on your performance plan. What plan? She slid a printed paper across the desk. Final warning, workplace conduct. His chest tightened. I didn't violate anything. Refusal to accept feedback, she said. Disruptive behavior. You warned me not to complain. I advised professionalism. Silence filled the office. Daniel looked at the document. Final warning. One more step before termination. He looked back up. Are you trying to fire me? Denise's voice softened. I'm giving you an opportunity to correct course. He understood the message. Withdraw the complaint. Or lose the job. He left the office slowly. Coworkers avoided eye contact. He sat at his desk. Opened his email. A new message waited. Subject. Schedule adjustment effective immediately. His weekly hours cut in half. Elena approached quietly. He didn't look up. They're pushing me out, he whispered. She read the screen. Her jaw tightened. This is retaliation. Daniel finally looked at her. Fear was clear now. What if they succeed? Elena's voice was calm but firm. They won't. Across the room, Denise watched them through her office window. And for the first time, Elena realized Denise was no longer hiding it. She was confident, because she believed no one above her would ever question her authority. Elena took a slow breath. That belief was about to become her biggest mistake. The schedule change took effect the next morning. Daniel arrived at 7:12 a.m. like always. But his name was gone from the opening shift. Mark stood at the front desk holding the keys. Oh, Mark said awkwardly. Denise told me I'm opening now. Daniel nodded slowly. Okay. He didn't argue. He just walked to his cubicle. His system access took longer to load than usual. Then a message appeared. Project assignment access removed. He stared at the screen. Elena, sitting 2 desks away, noticed immediately. Something wrong? She asked quietly. Daniel forced a calm tone. I can't open client files anymore. He tried another. Locked. Another. Locked. His responsibilities were disappearing one click at a time. Across the room, Denise watched from her office window. At 9:40 a.m. Denise stepped out. Team meeting, she announced. Everyone gathered at the conference table. Daniel took his usual seat. Denise paused, then looked directly at him. Actually, Daniel, you won't need to attend. This is leadership discussion. The room went silent. He stood slowly. I've always attended. Roles change, she replied. He left the room. The door shut behind him. Inside, voices resumed. Outside, he stood alone in the hallway. Elena watched through the glass wall. No one objected. No one invited him back. Isolation had become official. At lunch, no one sat near Daniel. Not intentionally. Carefully. People smiled at him from distance, but chose other tables. Fear was contagious. A coworker passed by and whispered quickly, I'm sorry. Daniel nodded. He understood. Jobs were fragile. Later that afternoon, Denise approached his desk. She didn't lower her voice. Daniel, why is this report incomplete? He turned. I no longer have system access. You should have asked for help. I emailed IT. You didn't follow proper procedure. He kept his voice steady. You removed my permissions. Several employees listened quietly. Denise crossed her arms. Excuses won't improve your conduct record. My record is being changed, Daniel replied. Her eyes sharpened. You're blaming management again. I'm describing facts. She leaned closer. Your negativity is affecting morale. He met her gaze. My hours were cut after I filed a complaint. Coincidence. My duties were removed. Operational adjustment. Daniel's voice lowered. This is retaliation. The word hung in the air. Denise's tone dropped cold. You are approaching insubordination. Silence spread across the office. Elena stepped closer but didn't interrupt. Daniel spoke carefully. I'm protecting myself. Denise smiled thinly. You're damaging your career. Then she walked away. No one spoke for several seconds. At 3:10 p.m. Daniel received another email. Subject. Mandatory conduct review, tomorrow 9 a.m. His stomach tightened. Attachment. Pre-termination evaluation. His hands went cold. Elena read over his shoulder. They're accelerating, she said quietly. They're firing me, he replied. Not anger. Resignation. Across the room, Mark avoided looking at him. Tara stared at her desk. No one wanted to be involved. Near closing time, Elena asked Daniel to meet outside the building. They stood near the parking lot under fading sunlight. "You need to keep every email," she told him. "I have them. And write down every conversation you remember." "Why?" "Because this isn't just unfair treatment anymore." He looked at her. "It's a case." Daniel shook his head slowly. "I don't want a lawsuit. I want my job." "I know," she said gently. He looked back at the office windows. "I worked 3 years for that promotion." His voice cracked slightly. "I kept thinking if I worked harder it would change." Elena spoke softly. "Some systems don't correct themselves." He was quiet. "What if they fire me tomorrow?" Elena answered calmly. "Then tomorrow becomes evidence." He studied her. "You talk like you've seen this before." "I have." Inside the building, lights flicked off one by one. Employees left quickly. Denise was the last to leave. She locked the front door and saw them standing outside. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Then she got into her car and drove away. Daniel exhaled slowly. "She's not worried at all." Elena watched the car disappear. "No," she said. "But she should be." At that moment Daniel's phone buzzed. A new email arrived. He opened it. His face drained of color. Elena stepped closer. "What is it?" He turned the screen toward her. Subject: Notice of possible termination, effective pending review. The meeting tomorrow wasn't a discussion. It was a formality. They had already decided. Daniel whispered, barely audible. "They never intended to keep me." Elena looked back at the dark office building. Now she was certain. This wasn't just discrimination. It was a planned removal. And she knew something Denise didn't. Tomorrow, Denise would face someone she never expected. At 8:40 a.m., the office didn't feel normal. People spoke softer. Chairs moved quieter. Even the phones seemed to ring less. A black company sedan pulled into the parking lot. Everyone noticed. Tara whispered, "Corporate." Daniel's stomach tightened. He had barely slept. The termination meeting was scheduled for 9. Instead, at 8:55, Denise stepped out of her office. "Attention everyone," she announced. "We have a regional compliance visit today. Please cooperate and stay professional." She looked directly at Daniel. "Especially today." The front door opened. A tall man in a gray suit walked in carrying a tablet. "Good morning," he said calmly. "I'm Richard Bennett, Regional Operations Director." The office straightened instantly. Denise walked over with a confident smile. "Welcome. We're happy to assist." Daniel noticed her tone, polite, relaxed. Not nervous. Richard nodded. "I'll be conducting individual conversations with staff." Denise gestured toward the conference room. "Of course." Employees exchanged looks. Interviews began. Tara went first. She sat across from Richard at the table. He spoke gently. "I'm reviewing workplace environment and management process. Just answer honestly." She hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the glass wall. Denise was visible at her desk outside. Tara folded her hands. "Everything is fine." Richard waited. "Are promotion procedures followed consistently?" "Yes." "Any pressure from management?" "No." Her voice was careful. "Measured." "Safe." Richard nodded and thanked her. She left quickly. Next was Mark. He entered with forced confidence. "Congratulations on your promotion," Richard said. Mark smiled nervously. "Thank you. Tell me about the selection process." Mark swallowed. "I interviewed." "Panel interview?" "Yes." "Who was present?" Mark hesitated. "Ms. Cole." Richard waited. "Anyone else?" "No." Richard wrote something down. Mark noticed. His confidence faded. Daniel was called third. He walked in slowly. Richard offered a seat. "Daniel, I understand there was a complaint." "Yes," Daniel said quietly. "Tell me what you observed." Daniel hesitated, then spoke. "I saw my performance score changed after submission." Richard looked up. "You personally saw this?" "Yes." "Any witnesses?" Daniel thought of Elena. He paused. "Yes." "Who?" Before Daniel could answer, the door opened. Denise stepped inside. "I apologize," she said smoothly. "I just wanted to clarify something." Richard frowned slightly. "This is a private interview." "I understand," she said, still smiling. "But Daniel has been under performance review. His interpretation may be influenced." Daniel felt the air shift. She was controlling the narrative. Richard turned back to Daniel. You may continue. Daniel spoke carefully. I filed a complaint yesterday. After that, my hours were cut and duties removed. Denise spoke immediately. Operational restructuring. Daniel looked at Richard. I was also given a termination warning. Denise folded her arms. Because of conduct. Richard watched both of them now. The tension was visible. Ms. Cole, he said calmly, please wait outside while I finish. She held his gaze a second longer, then left. Daniel exhaled. Do you have documentation? Richard asked. Yes. He handed over printed emails. Richard read silently. His expression changed slightly. Thank you, he said. Daniel stood to leave. Daniel, Richard added, is there anything else? Daniel hesitated, then answered softly. I don't think I was ever meant to be promoted. Richard didn't respond immediately, but he wrote another note. After the interviews ended, employees returned to work quietly. Denise remained composed. Too composed. She stopped Elena near the copier. You haven't spoken much today, Denise said. Elena smiled politely. I'm observing operations. Denise studied her visitor badge. Consultants don't normally stay this long. I'm thorough. Denise leaned slightly closer. Be careful not to misunderstand internal management decisions. Elena held her gaze. I understand more than you think. A brief silence passed. Denise walked away. At 4:15 p.m., Richard packed his tablet. He spoke to Denise near the front desk. Thank you for cooperation. Of course, she replied smoothly. I may follow up, he said. Anytime. He turned to leave. Elena, he said calmly. The entire office froze. Denise turned slowly. Richard continued. I believe you requested a private meeting. Denise's expression changed for the first time. Elena stepped forward. Yes. Richard nodded. Conference room. They walked inside together. The door closed. Denise stared at it. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Inside the conference room, Richard sat. Elena, he said quietly, you can proceed. She placed a folder on the table, then said calmly, I'm not just a consultant. Richard nodded once. I know. She opened the folder, revealing printed evidence, timestamps, and recordings. I represent the owner. Richard leaned back slowly. Outside, Denise watched through the glass, unable to hear. Inside, Elena finished her sentence. And your department manager has been falsifying performance records. The conference room was too quiet. Not normal quiet. Watching quiet. 12 employees sat around the long glass table. No one touched the coffee. No one checked their phone. Even the air conditioner seemed to hum softer. Marcus Reed noticed it immediately. He stepped inside, holding a yellow legal pad, expecting another follow-up review. Another polite ambush. Another round of documentation against him. Instead, he saw someone he had never seen before. A woman sat at the head of the table. Not HR. Not management. Late 40s. Composed. Navy business suit. Calm eyes that didn't wander. Next to her sat Ms. Patel from HR. But today she wasn't leading. She was silent. Supervisor Daniel Hargrove stood near the projector, arms folded, jaw tight. Marcus, Hargrove said sharply. Sit. Marcus sat slowly. He looked around. Several co-workers avoided eye contact. Elena Torres did not. She gave him a small nod. Stay steady. The woman opened a thin folder. Good morning, she said gently. My name is Andrea Whitaker. No one reacted. She continued. I'm an external compliance consultant retained by the ownership group. The room shifted. Hargrove cleared his throat. We've already handled this internally. She raised a hand. Not aggressive. Just final. No, Mr. Hargrove. You documented it internally. That is not the same thing. Silence. Andrea slid a remote. The screen behind her lit up. A timeline appeared. Dates. Emails. Shift reports. Write-ups. Marcus leaned forward. He recognized every single one. The pattern. Andrea spoke calmly. Over the last 6 months, employee Marcus Reed received 7 disciplinary actions. Click. Next slide. During the same period, 3 other employees committed documented policy violations of equal or greater severity. Click. Names appeared. White employees. No write-ups. The room shifted again. Hargrove stiffened. That's selective interpretation. Andrea didn't even look at him. No. It's comparative enforcement. Click. Security footage appeared. Warehouse aisle camera. Marcus stacking boxes. A pallet slightly crooked. Write-up issued. Click. Next video. Another worker left equipment blocking a safety exit. No write-up. Murmurs started. Marcus felt something strange, not anger. Relief. For the first time, it wasn't his word. It was reality. The emails. Andrea opened another document. We also obtained internal email communications. Hargrove's shoulders tightened. She read. We need someone more presentable for the client walkthrough. She paused. Sent by Supervisor Daniel Hargrove, referring to Mr. Reed. The room froze. Another email appeared. He's not management material. Doesn't fit the image. Another. Customers respond better to a certain type of employee. No one spoke now. No one moved. Even the employees who used to laugh with Hargrove stared at the table. Marcus didn't blink. He didn't have to. For months he'd lived this. Today they were hearing it. The witnesses. Andrea nodded toward the door. It opened. Elena Torres walked in first. Then Jamal Carter. Then, unexpectedly, store manager Kelly Winters. Kelly avoided Hargrove's eyes completely. Andrea said softly, "These individuals provided sworn statements." Elena spoke first. "I saw Marcus train 2 supervisors. Both got promoted over him." Jamal added, "I was told not to pair him with visiting executives." Kelly hesitated. The room waited. She swallowed. "Hargrove told me. We need leadership that customers feel comfortable approaching." I knew what he meant. Hargrove snapped. "That is not what I—" Andrea finally looked directly at him. And for the first time her voice hardened. "Mr. Hargrove, you will remain silent." He did. The reveal. Andrea closed the folder. Then she said something no one expected. "I was not only retained to investigate compliance." She slid a final document onto the table. "I was sent by ownership." She paused. "And ownership has already reviewed the findings." Hargrove's face lost color. Marcus felt his heart slow. Andrea stood. Effective immediately, Daniel Hargrove is terminated for discriminatory conduct, retaliatory documentation practices, and falsification of performance records. No one breathed. Security appeared at the door. Hargrove looked around the room, searching for support. There was none. He looked at Marcus last. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply held eye contact. Calm. The same calm he'd kept through months of humiliation. Hargrove was escorted out. The door closed. The real justice. Andrea turned back to Marcus. Her tone softened again. "Mr. Reed, the ownership group would like to apologize." Marcus blinked. She continued. "You were denied promotion twice based on those records." She slid another paper across the table. "We are correcting that." He looked down. "Promotion to operations supervisor. Back pay included." The room was silent, but now it was a different silence. "Respect." Elena smiled openly now. Jamal actually laughed once under his breath. Marcus exhaled slowly. Not victory. Not revenge. Validation. Andrea added one last sentence. "We don't correct injustice with sympathy. We correct it with record." Marcus nodded. For the first time since this began, he felt seen. The building felt different the next morning. Same parking lot. Same loading docks. Same flickering light above Bay 3. But the tension was gone. Marcus noticed it before he even got out of his car. People weren't rushing past him anymore. They were waiting. Jamal leaned against the entrance rail. "Morning, Supervisor." Marcus shook his head lightly. "Don't start." Jamal grinned. "Oh, I absolutely will." Inside, conversation stopped, but not the old way. Not the avoid him silence. The acknowledge him silence. Several employees nodded. A few even said his name. Not "Hey man." "Morning, Marcus." Respect sounded different. The empty office. The supervisor office door was open. Yesterday it had been Hargrove's territory. No one entered without permission. Today it was clean. Desk cleared. Nameplate removed. Only a faint square remained where it had sat for years. Marcus stepped inside slowly. For months, he had imagined this room as a barrier. Now it was just a room. Elena stood at the doorway. "You going to sit?" she asked. Marcus looked at the chair. Then he did. It didn't feel powerful. It felt heavy. Responsibility. He rested his hands on the desk and quietly said, I'm not running this place the way he did. Elena nodded. That's why they chose you. HR meeting. At 10 a.m., Ms. Patel requested a meeting. This time Marcus wasn't called in. He was invited. The conference room looked the same, but the seating had changed. Ms. Patel sat across from him, not above. Andrea Whitaker was there again. She spoke first. We need to go over corrective actions. Marcus nodded. Andrea continued. 3 policy changes are being implemented company-wide. Promotions will require panel review, not single supervisor recommendation. Disciplinary actions will be audited monthly. Anonymous reporting will go directly to corporate compliance. Marcus blinked. That would have helped 6 months ago. Andrea met his eyes. Yes. It should have existed already. No defensiveness. Just truth. Ms. Patel added gently, we also want your input on rebuilding trust. Marcus paused. He wasn't angry now, but he was careful. You don't rebuild trust with posters, he said. You rebuild it with consistency. Andrea nodded once. Agreed. The apologies. They started awkwardly. First was Aaron, the co-worker who used to laugh at Hargrove's comments. He approached Marcus near the break room. I should have said something, Aaron said, staring at the floor. Marcus studied him. Why didn't you? Aaron swallowed. I didn't want to be the next target. Marcus didn't comfort him, but he didn't humiliate him either. Now you know what silence costs. Aaron nodded slowly. Next came Kelly Winters. The store manager stood straighter than Marcus had ever seen her. I signed the statements late, she said quietly. I was afraid of losing my job. Marcus answered calmly. You almost lost your integrity. She didn't argue. I won't again, she said. He believed her. Outside the building. By afternoon, word had spread beyond the warehouse. A local journalist waited near the employee exit. Dana Brooks. Notebook in hand. Mr. Reed, I'm covering workplace accountability reforms. Would you like to comment? Marcus paused. He remembered every sleepless night, every report he rewrote, every time he was told to be patient. He could expose everything publicly. He could vent. Instead he said, this wasn't about one bad person. It was about a system that let one person have unchecked power. Dana wrote quickly. He continued, I didn't win because I argued louder. I won because facts don't get tired. She lowered her pen. That's a powerful statement. Marcus shook his head. It's not powerful. It's normal. It just took too long to become normal. Final consequence. At 4:30 p.m., Andrea called him once more. One last document. Mr. Hargrove has filed an appeal, she said. Marcus felt his chest tighten slightly. Andrea slid another paper. Denied. Reason listed. Confirmed discriminatory enforcement and retaliation. Permanent ineligibility for supervisory roles within the company. Marcus looked at it. No celebration. No relief laugh. Just quiet. For months his life had been controlled by one man's decisions. Now it was controlled by truth. Andrea stood. You handled this with restraint, she said. Marcus replied softly. I wasn't trying to defeat him. He folded the paper carefully. I was trying to survive him. As he left that evening, the sun was low across the parking lot. Employees waved. Someone held the door for him. Small things. Normal things. And for the first time since the promotion was denied, Marcus didn't feel watched. He felt equal. The morning light came softer than usual. Marcus parked in the lot and walked in slowly. No one rushed past him. No whispers. No sideways glances. He carried a folder, not of complaints or evidence, but of new assignments, schedules, and emails confirming his promotion. Elena Torres waited near the entrance, smiling. You ready? She asked. Marcus nodded. Let's make this day count. Promotion announcement. By 9 a.m., the staff gathered in the main hall. Andrea Whitaker stood at the front, calm and composed. Good morning, everyone, she began. I have an important announcement regarding departmental leadership. Denise Cole was notably absent. Word had spread quickly. Her authority had ended the day before. Marcus stepped forward as Andrea continued. Effective immediately, Marcus Reed is promoted to operations supervisor. All previous decisions influenced by falsified evaluations have been corrected. He will receive back pay for all missed promotion benefits. A murmur ran through the employees. Some clapped softly. Others smiled cautiously. Marcus held his hands together, nodding politely. His expression was neutral, but his chest felt lighter than it had in months. Acknowledgement of wrong. Andrea continued. We acknowledge the institutional failures that allowed this to happen, including biased promotion practices and retaliatory conduct. The company is implementing new checks to prevent recurrence. Marcus felt the weight of those words. It wasn't just about him. It was about years of unspoken rules, silenced employees, and fear in the office. Elena placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. You did what needed to be done. Marcus glanced around. Some co-workers were emotional. Some avoided eye contact, ashamed. Others offered tentative congratulations. Personal confrontation. Later, Marcus walked to the now-empty supervisor office. The space felt lighter. No more hidden cameras, no more shadows of authority looming over him. A knock came. It was Kelly Winters, the store manager. I wanted to apologize for not speaking up sooner, she said. Marcus studied her. You were scared. That's understandable. I shouldn't have let fear decide my actions, she admitted. Marcus nodded. Learning to speak up counts too. That matters. Denise's fallout. The news of Denise Cole's termination circulated quickly. Emails confirmed she was placed on indefinite leave pending investigation and permanently barred from supervisory roles. Marcus didn't feel joy in her downfall. He didn't gloat. He felt relief. Relief that the system finally recognized the injustice. Relief that no one else would have to endure her manipulation. Employee empowerment. By the afternoon, employees began speaking freely. Suggestions for new workflows were shared. Requests for mentorship programs were made. Marcus listened. He responded calmly, thoughtfully. For the first time, communication wasn't dictated by fear. Media coverage. Dana Brooks, the journalist, appeared again. Notebook ready. Marcus, your story has already inspired others. What would you like to say? He paused. Thought of every sleepless night, every unfair email, every silent apology he withheld. This isn't just about one person winning a promotion, he said slowly. It's about making sure the system works fairly. Facts don't get tired. And fairness doesn't wait forever. Dana wrote quickly, nodding. Bittersweet victory. By 5 p.m., the office quieted down. Marcus sat at his new desk, carefully arranging folders and planning schedules. He leaned back and closed his eyes. Relief was mixed with exhaustion. Years of stress and fear had left scars. But he also felt strength, resilience forged through injustice. Elena stepped in with a cup of coffee. Cheers, she said softly, handing it to him. He smiled faintly. To the system finally noticing. She laughed quietly. And to the fact that you survived it. He looked around the office. His co-workers were talking, laughing, and collaborating. He felt seen, valued, respected. The victory was real. But he also knew the emotional cost, the quiet battles, the sleepless nights, the personal resilience required to reach this moment. And in that moment, Marcus understood something crucial. Justice wasn't just the promotion or the punishment of Denise. Justice was the restoration of integrity, the empowerment of truth, the acknowledgement that fear could not govern a workplace forever. He took a deep breath. And for the first time in years, Marcus Reed felt free.